Starting Tuesday, the 3rd Avenue entrance to the King County Courthouse will close. Jurors, lawyers, court staff, pretty much anyone going in and out of the building has used these doors, a main entrance. The judge who ordered the closure said, quote, "The safety conditions have deteriorated, jeopardizing the public safety of any attempting to enter or leave." Last week, in an apparent random assault, a man on the sidewalk attacked a public defender, punching him several times and knocking him to the ground. A Metro bus driver tried to help, but the attacker turned on him. A court marshal arrested the suspect, who had an active warrant for assault.
I hope someone doesn't have to die on 3rd Avenue to get people's attention.
King County Councilmember Pete von Reichbauer plans to question the Seattle police chief, the city attorney, and victims of attacks during a safety meeting next week.
We've got to work on a system that gets more visible, active law enforcement on the main entrances to this courthouse.
In a statement, the Seattle Police Department said it cares deeply about the safety of all who use the courthouse. SPD said it assigned foot patrols to 3rd Ave last year. Bike cops patrol the area, but are also keeping an eye on other neighborhoods with safety concerns. Quote, "We understand that some of those we arrest are not held in jail, but return to the same area due to the proximity of social services. Knowing this, our strategies are predominantly deployment-focused, with an emphasis on police visibility, crime prevention, and deterrence."
The judge's order closes the 3rd Avenue entrance until January 2nd, so that leaves the 4th Avenue entrance and then an underground entrance which you can get to through the King County Administration Building. The County Council says it will likely discuss perhaps relocating an entrance of the building to a safer part of the courthouse, perhaps along City Hall Park. Live in Seattle, Ted Land, King 5 News.
Ted, thank you.